Hello everyone, this is Agrovane with Average Level Gaming. I'm going to be talking about patch 2.12, the new cards that came with it, the new meta after it, and my spicy decks that I think will help you climb and get to whatever rank you want to get to. Reach your potential. That's all that matters for us average level gamers. So let's get started. First with Demacia. We have 666 Cadogan the Ruined Fury. Give an allied champion or dragon challenger. Not a great card. It's just too slow. You have Shyvana's Confront. You have ways to give vulnerable or gain challenger. You don't really need this in the deck. Ruined Dragon Guard, however, I do like. I think this card's pretty good. It's a little slow, and it's kind of a backline character because you don't really want to attack or block with it and risk it dying. Because the value it gives can snowball very hard if all your Fury units just keep getting an additional +1/+1. This can see play in a Shadow Isles Shyvana deck, given all the new dragon support that we'll be talking about soon. I think this is a pretty good card, and I think you'll see it in a couple Tier 3 decks. It won't be super meta, but you'll see it around. With Freljord, Rhymefang Deadmother, 6 mana 5/5. When I'm summoned, summon a Rhymefang Peck, which is a right here, 1 mana 1/1 with Overwhelm. Grant it +1/+1 for each time you have frostbitten enemies this game. Now, I don't really see this card getting play, which is kind of surprising because I do like it. I understand that you do need to draw into your frostbites and you do kind of need to be frostbiting a lot. But at 6 mana, you can easily drop, 6 mana 5/5. That summons another 5/5 with Overwhelm, or it could be an 8/8. Who knows? It just depends how many frostbites you've drawn between Brittle Steel and the 3 mana Frostbite and how well your Ash is working for you. I think this card is a little undervalued. I mean, it's a little slow, but it summons a lot of stats, and stats aren't as important in Legends of Runeterra as other card games. However, it is a good amount of stats. I mean, it could easily be a 6 mana 10/10. You get 4 Frostbites off, which is very possible given it's a 6 mana card. Next, we have Ionia, Scattered Pod, Attune. You have the choice between drawing a slow, a fast, or a burst spell. Enlightened, I have Elusive. This is a great card. You will see this in the meta. You will see it in mid-range decks that include Ionia. You'll see it in control decks that include Ionia. I know this deck is seeing play in J4 Shen nowadays because you can just draw into your Golden Aegis right away. And it gives you flexibility and versatility. If you want to draw a Deny or a single combat, you can choose the fast version, or you can choose the burst spell and draw into your stat boosters or even a riposte possibly to give a unit barrier. This is a great card. You will see this in the meta for sure for now and for patches to come. Targon, Frightened Ibex. When I'm supported, give me and my supporting ally +1/+1 this round. Support needs more support, which is funny to say. This is a step in the right direction. I like what Riot's done. However, I just don't think it's too strong right now. It'll help out maybe buffing up a Pix, but it's only for the round. I think if it was Grant +1/+1, they get to keep it. I think it'd be way better. I think it would be an instant tech, and it would give support the boost they need. I do like this card. It's a step in the right direction, but you probably won't see it in the meta anytime soon. Noxus got Ruined Reckoner. When I'm summoned, create a Midnight Raid in hand. Midnight Raid, fleeting, slow, an ally starts a free attack, 0 mana. That's a great card. That's very strong. You can combo it with elusive units, which we've seen recently. You can combo it with a LeBlanc. You drop LeBlanc turn 3. You drop this turn 4. You Midnight Raid your LeBlanc. It's kind of tough for your opponent to deal with a LeBlanc quick attacking you for free because it's got the 5 attack. This is a great card. You will see this in Noxus decks for sure. Maybe not in every single one. You'll see it in a couple, definitely. Retire Reckoner, 5 mana 2/6. Overwhelm, when you target me, grant me +1/+0. I like the card, it's interesting. I like the when you target me effect. However, it's just, for the cost, it's just too low stats right away. Like a 5 mana 2/6, it just comes on the board. It's a little weak, and it's not a great card. You probably won't see it in the meta. I understand if you buff it a lot, then it can get really snowbally, but if you can buff plenty of other cards, and there's other better Overwhelm units to buff, not ones that have 2 attack base. So, not every card's meant to be great. P and Z, Piltover and Zaun. We got Defective Swapbot. Play skill. Swap my stats with another unit. It's a decent card, right? The thing is that worries me is it's giving away 4/3 when it swaps stats. Also, it can be countered. You can respond to this skill. So, I mean, it allows your opponent to counterplay. It's giving away decent stats as is. I mean, if you can possibly swap with a Nasus, sure. But, I mean, they might just atrocity or, glimpse beyond and you don't get those stats anymore. So, I don't know, the fact that it could, if it didn't give your opponent a chance to respond, it'd be probably too good. So, I don't know. It's a decent card. You probably won't see in the meta, though. Now, Shurima got a lot of support this patch, given the new champion that released, Akshan. And we will just talk about every single card one by one. Vikorin Vagabond. When I'm summoned, summon a Warlord's Palace. That's this. That Akshan summons. Or advance it 2 rounds. It's countdown 8, so that's pretty substantial. 3 mana, 3/3. You will see this cards in decks that include Akshan. You might not see it in every single version, but you will definitely see this card. Relic of Power is what you obtain from Warlord's Palace. Relic of Power allows you to either predict and draw one, summon a Sandstone Charger, or grant all allies +1/+0. It is fleeting, focus, 0 mana. This is good, and it's pretty versatile because you get to, I personally like to predict and draw one a lot. I think just getting the extra card to hand, getting to pick what you want to draw out of 3 random cards in your deck is perfect. You can be really aggro and summon a Sandstone Charger. If you have the attack token, you start off your turn, bang, 0, focus, summon the Sandstone Charger, swing right away. That's an extra 5 damage or attack that your opponent has to deal with that they couldn't even respond with a unit or a slow spell for. Or grant all allies +1/+0, which is also another point to make. If you have the attack token, you can just give everything +1. And now, if you have a full board or a decently well set up board, giving everything +1 could be very important in a deck that specializes in having quick attack units. Warlord's Horde is what you get when Akshan evolves. He places this down. Again, it's very similar to Warlord's Palace. Same countdown, same effect. When you target me, or when you target allies, advance me 1. This can give you Sentinel's Horde. The Absolver's Resurrection, which is right here. Again, keeps the same theme. 0 mana focus, 0 mana focus. Grant all enemies vulnerable. Create hand a 0-cost copy of the strongest ally that died this game. This is very strong, especially in a deck with quick attack units. You can almost, if you have a decent board, you can just kind of wipe your opponent's board by perfectly picking which units can quick attack into which units. And it's just over. It could be a huge tempo swing, especially giving you a 0-cost copy of the strongest ally that died. That stays in your hand for the whole game, so you don't have to drop it right away. You can drop this card, give everything vulnerable, swing, and then drop it after, so your opponent, again, can't respond with a slow or a unit, or a slow spell or a unit, I should say. A Font of Power. I believe that's right here. Yep, draw 2 cards. Your cards cost 1 less this round. If you can start off the turn playing this, your opponent's going to have a bad time. You draw 2, everything costs 1 less in your hand. You really can just set up a huge swing turn. And finally, Shield of Sentinels. Grant your champions everywhere Spell Shield and +2/+2. Spell Shield is very prominent this meta. I really like this card, and giving your champions +2/+2 is not something to, kind of disregard. That's a good stats, and champions everywhere, it just, I don't know, it's just a lot of advantage for when you actually drop those champions. If you're playing Akshan and you're playing Sivir, I mean, you might not want to choose this one because Sivir already has a spell shield. However, it's still a good effect, and there's plenty of other Akshan decks that don't include champions with spell shields, so this creates Akshan to just be a very versatile unit that can go in almost any Shurima deck. Akshan's Grappling Hook, both the same. It's his champion spell. An ally you've targeted this round strikes an enemy. So, again, you buff a unit, now you get to strike a unit for free. And it's not attack, it's not a free attack, it's a strike. So it can just easily be a free kill if your opponent doesn't have a response. This is a great card. I can see you main decking Grappling Hooks while also playing triple Akshan, because if this is good. This is tempo swings when they go off. Vicurum Bruiser, strike, create a Lucky Find in hand. This card's decent. 5 mana, 5/5, decent body. The Lucky Find is nice to, go along with your Warlord's Palace, your grappling hooks, like 0 mana focus, give something a buff with a Lucky Find. You get to choose between 3, and then you just get to swing with grappling hook, or your Palace goes down. So if this card can get you those Lucky Finds constantly, it's a good card. However, if it dies in one attack, gives you 1, I guess, you get the 1 Lucky Find, but it's a little slow. 5 mana, 5/5, doesn't do something when immediately summons, so it's a decent card. You'll see it around. Every other single card I've talked about, you will see in an auction deck. This one, it might be more hit or miss. You might see it in a couple decks. You might see it teched, like 1 copy, but I don't think it'll be too prominent. Thrumming Swarm, 7 mana, 8/4 Overwhelm. When I'm summoned, create a copy of me in hand if you level a champion this game. So this card is interesting. I don't think it's going to be good. Especially if you haven't leveled a champion this game, this is extremely slow. To drop a 7 mana 8/4 with Overwhelm, even 4 health can easily be dealt with by most decks before he can even swing. So, I don't know. I think Thrumming Swarm is a weak card. I don't think you'll see it in the meta. Auction, quick attack, 2 mana 2/2. When I'm summoned or strike, summon a Warlord's Palace, which is right here, which we've touched upon, or advance it 1 round. So you get the strike, you advance it, and every time you target someone, it gets advanced. So he, of course, when he levels up, becomes a 2 mana 3/3, and he summons your Warlord's Horde, which is essentially the same thing with bigger reward at the end. Auction's great. He delivers value, flexibility to any Shurima deck. If you put him in, he's a great champion, a great inclusion into the game. I'm very happy with what they did with Auction in Legends Runeterra, and I hope he pans out to be a fun League of Legends champion too. We've talked about all these. Now, this is fun. The Absolver. Give an ally +2/+1. If you have leveled a champion this game, create an Absolver's Return in hand. Absolver's Return. Fleeting, Burst. Give an ally Overwhelm and +2/+1 this round. This makes Akshan Lee Sin hurt. This combo, you get kicked in the teeth by your own unit with Lee Sin after he's leveled, and then you get kicked in the teeth by a Lee Sin with +4 attack and Overwhelm for 4 mana. It is a tough combo. I really like Auction Lee Sin. I think it's one of the more interesting decks that come out, and it's fun, it's interesting, it's meta. What more could you want from a brand new deck? Vicoran Safecracker. 4 mana 4/4. Give an ally +2/+0 to give an enemy -2/-0 this round. This card's pretty weak. Giving an ally +2/+0 to give an enemy -2/-0. If your opponent has, a couple units on board, yeah, you can -2 from 1, but your other unit's not gaining any health, so you might just crack into the unit that Safe Cracker buffed, and it wouldn't really matter. If it has Overwhelm, then maybe it'll matter, but it's just a slow card. I mean, it doesn't really do much. And of course, there's ways to get around, an enemy losing -2. Like most decks have ways to deal with the fact that, okay, their unit lost to attack, but you can still, buff it. You can use it to block, Glimpse Beyond. There's plenty of options decks have to deal with this. You won't see this card. It's just too slow. Not a great card. But honestly, other than Vicuran Safecracker and Thrumming Swarm, all these cards are great. I mean, you will see all of these cards. You will definitely see Bruiser a little bit less maybe than all these other cards, but this is a good set drop for Shurima. I'm very happy with what they did. Now, the other big set drop is Shadow Isles, and we'll get started with Invasive Hydrovine. Fearsome, 7 mana, 7/6. When I'm summoned, a round starts, summon Encroaching Mist. Encroaching Mist is what makes Shadow Isles right now with Viego. Encroaching Mist, ephemeral, 1 mana, 1/1. When I'm summoned, grant all allied Viegos and other Encroaching Mists everywhere, +1/+1. This is very cool. I very much like, sorry about that. I'm just so in awe by this great card that I just love what they've done with this to make you feel like you're actually causing the ruination, which is all about what Viego is. You summon these mists. They literally encroach on your enemy, and you just get to keep summoning, and they get bigger. The mist gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you're summoning 5/5 mists, 6/6 mists, and your Viego's like an 11/10 for no reason. It's just it's a great thing. I kind of wish there was some synergy with Mist Wraith. I think that would have been really interesting. But I'm not upset with this by any means. I think what they've done with Viego is really cool. I've been playing a lot of Viego Nasus recently just to have fun with it. I really like the deck. I don't know if I'd say it's tier 1, but it's definitely a tier 2 deck and can definitely outvalue other mid-range decks if played properly. I love Encroaching Mist. Hydrovine, I like teching 1. It's a good card. It might be a little slow, but it does summon a mist on summon, which is always beneficial. So I think it's a good card. Withering Mist, 5 mana, slow spell, drain 2 from 2 enemies. You might see this in a very, very heavy control list, but I mean, if it's definitely you definitely prefer to play Avalanche or other removal compared to this. Draining 2 is nice. I mean, you get 4 health back, but there's other ways to gain health back, But I guess if you want health, you want to be able to drain in Shadow Isles exclusively, I mean, it's not the worst option. It's just that draining 2 from 2 enemies, slow spell. I mean, your opponent's going to have a chance to respond, and then, you got to hope that the two kills or you're taking a lot of damage. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about this yet. I don't think the draining 2 is going to make it worth it, but we'll see. I mean, things always have a way of surprising you in card games, but on to the next. Crawling Viper Worm. We're talking about the Shyvana Shadow Isles deck earlier. This is a perfect inclusion. 2 mana, 3/2. Strike an ally or deal 3 to your Nexus Fury. So this is pretty interesting, right? Because, I mean, obviously you drop Dragon Chow so Shyvana can strike and get her level up faster, right? But this is kind of a really good turn 2 play. You go turn 1 Dragon Chow, turn 2 Viper Worm. You get to draw a card, and now this thing's a 4/3. And that's kind of hard. For like three health on turn 2 could be hard for some units to beat over. It depends. I mean, obviously you have cards like Ravenous Butcher, Legion Grenadier, which are 3/2s that can beat into it. But I don't know. It's interesting. It could be used in some interesting combos. Is all I'm saying. Viego's Despair. It's his champion spell. Pick a unit to strike your Nexus, then kill it. Create a Viego in deck. I really like this card. Unless you're throwing like an Ezreal or a Swain into your face and letting it get its Nexus strike off, it's pretty good. Obviously, you don't want to do it on a Nasus either, but I was playing a game against Thresh Nasus with Viego Nasus, and I despaired his Thresh. I only took 3 to face, and the card is no longer an issue. So, you just gotta, it's a slow spell, so obviously you gotta play around what your opponent's doing, right? You can't play slow spells like these and like Withering Mist when your opponent has a lot of mana and they might have responses. That's when these cards become bad, right? That's the whole thing with slow spells. Like, you gotta play them after your opponent's expended some resources, after they've played certain cards. You just gotta be smart, and this is one of those cards. Like, if you use it at a smart time, or even in a pinch and it works out for you because your opponent doesn't have a response, you're golden. This could be a huge tempo swing. Then we got Viego. Viego, base form, 5 mana, 5/4, fearsome. Each round, the first time an ally summoned, or dies, I should say, apologies, summon an Encroaching Mist. So again, you got to pay attention to this. The first time an ally dies, summon Encroaching Mist. So you want to make sure you have a way to kill him, or kill a unit right away when he's summoned, because you get the 1/1, and then he gives Viego's ever +1/+1. Now your Viego's basically a 6/5, and could be more when we eventually talk about Carnivorn Soldier. So Carnivorn Soldier, when I'm summoned, summon Encroaching Mist. You can play this on turn 3. Viego's already, then will be a 6/5 on summon. If you can get the kill when the 6/5 Viego summon, you can make him a 7/6. And, it just keeps snowballing from there. As long as Viego can stay alive, you're in a great spot. Carnivorn Dragon, 4 mana, 4/3. Play I Strike an ally, or deal 3 to your Nexus, Fearsome Fury. Similar to this card with no Fearsome. I Strike an ally, deal 3 to your Nexus. But when I slay a unit, drain 1 from the enemy Nexus. This is it's going to be included. It's a good card. Again, it's not going to be meta. This whole Shadow Isles Shyvana deck, right, I would predict to be around tier 3. But it's definitely interesting, and the stats could just snowball. It's just one of those decks that if you don't have a response, you can be dealing with a lot of pressure pretty quickly. Now, again, we talked about the Camivore and Soldier, but let's just talk about it again real quick. 3 mana, 3/3. When I'm summon Encroaching Mist. This card is so good that I kept playing Chronicler of Ruin just so I can go turn 3, summon Soldier, turn 4, Chronicler of Ruin, summon her again, just to summon another Mist. I don't know why. It's super slow. Chronicler of Ruin is not the greatest card, but it was especially worth it if, it's a 3 mana 3/3, block a 2 attack unit. It's at 3/1. Then you ruin it, comes back as a 3/3 and summons you another Mist to buff up your Viego and buff up your future Mists. It's a pretty good card. I think out of all these cards, the one that benefits Viego the most is definitely this. Like Hydrovine is nice, but it comes out turn 7, where this can come out turn 5. But this is like, you want 3 in every single deck that has Viego, and maybe in decks that don't include Viego, just because it's a free unit. You can go turn 3, Soldier, Mist. Mist gets Ravenous Butchered, or, Glimpse Beyonded. Or next, you can, if you have a lot of mana, if 7 mana, go Soldier, Spirit Leech. It's just one of those combos that is, it's good for Shadow Isles. I mean, you'll get the free Slay, and you'll get to kill an ephemeral unit that die anyway, so. Or ephemeral unit. Oh man, that's a tongue twister. Sorry, guys. But, those are all the new cards. For this set, again, I think Soldier is the best card to drop, excluding the champion. I think it's going to benefit Viego the most, and I think this is a very good set of cards. I was very excited to see Viego in the game. I really liked what Viego did in League of Legends, and I like how they brought that whole stealing the champion thing, with his ult. Because after he's seen allies with 20 plus total power die, gets to evolve, and this is the key thing I was talking about before, right? This is an ally. Each round, the first time a unit dies, summon a Mist. So now you can kill your opponent's unit to get your Mist. Round start, steal the strongest enemy this round. If it's a champion, kill it instead. They really brought the League of Legends flair to the Legends of Runeterra card, which is really nice. Stealing the strongest enemy is crazy, and killing the champion is very interesting. I mean, this is one of those cards, right? If he has good stats and you level him up, it's game over. Your opponent shouldn't really be able to deal with you getting free Mists that are constantly buffing your Viego while also stealing an enemy or a champion and killing it. Viego is a very fun card. I was very excited to see him dropped. I'm very excited to keep playing him, and I hope I can be the one to find a very refined deck list for him. Right now, I think the way to go is Thresh Nasus. However, it is upsetting because I lost a ranked game where my Nasus died, I think as a 10-10 or an 11-11, and I went from 7 out of 20 power to 9 out of 20 power, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. He had 11 power, what's up with that? So I think there are a couple bugs. I've also heard that if you frostbite a unit, say you frostbite a unit with 3 attack, or your unit gets frostbite with 3 attack and it dies, it'll still give 3 attack. So I don't know if they're going for base unit, what's on the card itself, but I think that it should be a bug because, I mean, if your Nasus is an 11-11 and he sees it die as an 11-11, then obviously you should get 11 power to this level up. So I hope those are bugs. I hope they refine those bugs, and I hope, deck lists come out where Viego is in an optimized state. But I think the best champion and best region to pair him with is definitely Shurima and Nasus. I think you can't go wrong with that. Because, of course, if you're playing Atrocity, you get the early damage out. Let's say you Curse Creeper, Ravenous Butcher, get early damage out. You have 2 big units to target with Atrocity. So I think that's the way to play him. I'm very excited to see this deck get more support in the future. And just all in all, very excited to play this on the climb to Masters. So now I'll be speaking about the meta. I think the meta is in a good spot right now. There's a lot of decks that are pretty good. I mean, you literally almost can't go wrong with playing like almost anything right now. The meta's pretty open. Like even tier, it wasn't like last meta. You had Zerarelia dominating, Thresh Nasus dominating, But you kind of have like tier 2 and tier 1 are kind of, similar. Like tier 2 can definitely steal a couple wins off of tier 1, where last season that wasn't really the case, where you had Azir and Thrush Nash's as being so much stronger than tier 2 that it really didn't matter what you play. You were locked into those two choices. I climbed to Masters last season without playing Azir and Thrush Nash, something I'm very proud of. I played a lot of J4 Shen and Ezreal Draven, but it was tough because Azir was a freaking powerhouse of a deck. It's very good. But yeah, I think, your best decks right now, in my opinion, you got the Zed Sivir combo. I think that deck is great. Pirate Burn, I think, is your best aggro option. Zerarelia, there is some counterplay now to it. You can kind of slow them down, but it's still an aggressive deck. And Jarvan Shen I like a lot. I think Jarvan Shen should be considered a tier 1 deck. I think when you talk about tier 2 decks, I think Thresh Nasus, Viego Nasus, I think they kind of sit there. Oh, I almost forgot. I think Reputation, LeBlanc Sivir, I think that's tier 1 too. That's a great deck. But tier 2, I think you're talking about like the Auction Lee Sin deck I was talking about. The Karma Ezreal deck I've seen a lot on ladder. And Auction Riven, I think those are like your tier 2 decks. Yeah, and you got a sprinkle of other things in there like, Lurk and whatnot. But I think overall, I think tier 1 is very cemented with Pirate Burn, Zed Sivir, Aurelia Azir, and Jarvan Shen with Reputation LeBlanc Sivir. Tier 2, I've just talked about. I think it's also very cemented with what I said. I think another deck to include might be Ezreal Draven. I know Rummage got hit, but I think it's a very strong deck, especially since mid-range is being played. Ezreal Draven is a good deck against mid-range decks. So I think it's very strong. And that's actually one of my spicy decks to climb with. I think Ezreal Draven will catch a lot of decks off guard, especially if you are able to get rid of their units aggressively. It might be tough because Sivir's getting played in the meta. Ruin Runner's getting played in the meta. So obviously you might have a tougher time dealing with those units. But you don't have weak units per se. You have Sump Dredger. You have Draven. Draven with quick attack and getting the axe can kill Ruin Runner or Sivir if they potentially try to block it. Because you can always give him the +1 attack. So I think Ezreal Draven is one of my spicy decks to climb. I also think J4 Shen. I've been playing a lot of that. That's not really spicy, just a good meta deck. But now the real spice that I've been playing recently is Auction Sivir. I'm a big fan of it. Plays very similar to Zed Sivir, and Zed is the more aggressive choice. However, Auction definitely gives you more value. When you play Auction, you get the Warlord's Palace right away. And if you level up Auction, you get the Warlord's Horde. And think about all the buff spells Zed Sivir's playing right now that just fits with Auction Sivir. Plus, you have access to the Deny in the Ionia package. So it's just a good deck. And I don't see it on any really tier list that you might get your info from, whether you use Swimstream, Runeterra, CCG, Mobalytics. They're all great lists. And I think they all have a great understanding on the meta. But you don't see Auction Sivir, and it's, it is very similar to Zed Sivir, but I think Auction provides value that Zed doesn't. Also, people with Zed say, okay, well, you drop him and your opponent uses removal to get rid of him quickly because he's a scary unit. And it's like, yeah, but they're also going to use that removal to get rid of Auction if they can because they don't want you constantly striking. But when Zed gets Mystic Shot, you lose Zed if you don't have a response. Auction gets Mystic Shot in, you don't have a response, you lose Auction. You don't lose Warlord's Palace. Because this is going to keep going down when you start targeting things in every turn just because it's a countdown landmark. So you'll clear this and get a Relic of Power. I personally like doing Predict and Draw 1 a lot to draw into my, I don't have a Sivir. Okay, let me draw in a Sivir. Oh, I don't have Deny. Let me draw into Deny. It just gives you a free card to draw. Now, with my other secret spicy decks, this is kind of two similar decks. They perform very similar, but I like both of them a lot. I like Sivir J4 and what do you call it? Sivir J4, and I guess yeah, Auction Sivir perform very similar. Um, J4 Sivir takes advantage of a card I really like a lot, which is Honored Lord. And Honored Lord goes well with the Shurima package because of Rockhopper giving units vulnerable when they're summoned, and getting Merciless Hunter in the deck, giving units vulnerable and playing Honored Lord with them. Now, Sivir J4 has this inherent, um, kind of like unsynergy or not working synergy, if you will, with that Sivir has quick attack, so she doesn't eat blocks from strikers, which is what you want with J4. However, you play Honored Lord, you play things that give barrier, and you play units that will survive attacks, and you're basically dropping J4 as a win condition anyways. Like if you almost want J4 to just be in hand when you're ready to strike, you know? It can easily just be if you can pull something with vulnerable or challenge something else with the tattered banner or Rockhopper or Merciless Hunter, the countless options we've talked about. Then you can pull one unit to the side and let Jarvan get a free attack on the enemy Nexus if you have the mana. So I think Sivir J4 is a strong deck. Again, Auction Sivir, they both perform pretty similarly. Auction Sivir definitely takes advantage of Flurry of Fists from Ionia, which is a really great card. And I like Sivir J4 just for the mid-range potential to just win trades heavily. You play Young Witch. My apologies, play Young Witch and Auction Sivir. But you play Honored Lord, you play Rockhopper, you play the Vulnerables, you play the Demacia Riposte and, single combat. You have ways to beat around other decks. So those are my secret spicy choices. Another one I've got for you. I think Swain TF is a little undervalued. I know a lot of lists have it at like low tier 2. I think it should be higher tier 2. I think it has the potential to beat out a lot of decks. And if played properly with the right combos, you could just end up winning by having a good turn with a powder keg and a make it rain. And that's something that can really shut down a lot of decks right now. A lot of decks are playing low health units. Like you got Reputation LeBlanc Sivir. So they're playing LeBlanc, who's got 2 health, and they're playing the Thrashing Snappers, and they're playing all these units that have high attack, low health. Make it rain with a keg or, Death's Hand can just easily ping one of those LeBlancs. And we know that TF is a great champion. He's very versatile. And we know Swain is one of my favorite champions to end games with. So those are my personal decks. I'll be putting each one of those decks below my personal lists. Again, to reiterate, it'll be Ezreal Draven, J4 Shen, Auction Sivir, J4 Sivir, and Swain TF. I think those are 5 spicy decks you can climb with, especially if you want to stay around tier 1. Maybe you don't like playing mirror matches as much, so you tend to play outsider decks. But I think those are spicier decks to climb with. It might catch people off guard. Personally, I'll be playing Viego Nasus because I absolutely love what they've done with Viego in this card game. I love him in League, love him in Runeterra, and I can't wait to just keep playing more. So, thank you. This was my discussion on patch 2.12 about the new cards, the new meta, and the new spice that came out. This was Agravane with Average Level Gaming. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully, I will be able to start streaming on Twitch soon. And when I have an account set up, I will put all the information below. And you guys can watch me play. Just talk with me, chat with me. Ask me any questions. Put below if there's any topic you want to talk about on this video. I'll gladly talk about whatever. If you got a question, how I feel about this, or what I intend to do with what cards, what decks, yada yada, I don't mind. I'm open to discussion and I freely accept it. So thank you for watching. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.